Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of June 18, 2018 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at Mayor and Council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door to your left. Please silence all cell phones. Could everybody please stand for a salute to the flag?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Bruno?
Here.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Cumming?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Here. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Just 2 very quick announcements. For those of you who may not have heard already, our former mayor, John Stapleton, passed away. He was a 3-term mayor from 1970 to 1981, so we wish his family all of our best wishes. And second is just happy to say that our green team through New Jersey Clean Communities got a grant of almost $18,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Proceeding with our agenda, approval of the minutes, February 20th, 2018, regular meeting minutes, February 20, 2018, conference portion meeting minutes, March 5th, 2018, regular meeting minutes, March 5th, 2018, conference portion meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. General public discussion, if anybody would, could I have a motion to open?
So moved. Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. If anybody would like to come up and address the council at this time, please come up to the mic, state your name and address.
Yeah, please enjoy. Prepare them for all of us. Thank you. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Katrina Cassidy, 35 Eugene Court. Okay, adults purchasing adult products are not at issue or in question, and this is specific to the smoke, vape, and head shop prohibition that we're asking for in the ordinances. There's no intention to make this a dry town, and we are not requesting a tobacco product ban. We are targeting retailers that primarily or exclusively concentrate in marijuana, tobacco, nicotine, and/or their related products. To recap, this is why we want these retailers prohibited. We talked at length about location. We don't have highways in the township, and we think that that's where these kind of retailers belong. And they're too close to our youth-populated areas. Dedication of the product. Again, these are retailers that exclusively sell these type of products as opposed to the 6 retailers that we have in the town currently that have a smaller product offering as part of their overall product offering. We're not looking to change anything for those retailers. And the last is just the lack of regulation. I think on these new products, there's a significant difference in the framework that's provided for, say, alcohol, which is often compared to the tobacco and these other new products that are coming along. It's too new, and I think that there are no tools right now in the toolbox to manage this responsibly. So we've demonstrated our support for these additional prohibition ordinances through large engaged turnouts at both Planning Board and Town Council meetings, a lengthy parade of impassioned and thoughtful speakers, letters, newspaper articles, and signed petitions, all with no support represented for these types of stores. And I think that's important. We've heard from professionals in the healthcare, law enforcement, and education fields that have provided context and spoke out against these operations in this town. There's been broad-based support for passing ordinances by residents of this community, including children, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, residents without children, and various professional members of this community, all of whom came to speak out against smoke and vape shop operations in this town. The director of the Northwest Bergen Regional Health Commission spoke out against the smoke shop application in her official capacity and with support from her board. Please take this as your call to action. Most people are unfamiliar with the exact roles and responsibilities of the planning board and town council, but they believe that in doing these things above, they were being heard, and that you, the town council, were responding by writing and passing the ordinances. You are obviously entitled to your opinions as residents of this community, but there has been no valid counter-argument made other than vague references to slippery slopes, Big Brother, and infringement on free market operations. We don't believe these apply here. There are existing ordinances in place today that prohibit businesses like laundromats and check cashing establishments and pawn shops, demonstrating that adding to the ordinances for unwanted businesses is not uncharted territory. Your role as elected officials to this town council is to act on behalf of the residents of this community. And in great numbers, we have been clear about what we, as residents and investors in this town, want to be passed. You're obligated to hear the will of the majority and to respond with appropriate action and in a timely manner. We want these ordinances passed, and if there's future tweaking that needs to be done, we can work on that together as a next step. But we want a baseline in place to protect our investment in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Castle. Mrs. Osmond?
Mary Ann Osmond, 960 Adams Place. I'd like to thank, first of all, I'll continue on this. I'd like to thank Mr. DeSena for saying in the ordinances that we did have something that we could have used and we could have just added to a lot earlier than just now. It should have been done after the January meeting when this council came here and talked about marijuana shops. It should not have been waited for a long period of time where the vape shop actually came into town. Mr. Poller has been our attorney for many years, and he wrote those ordinances. He knew what the ordinances were. Same with your trees now that you're going through. He wrote those ordinances. He knows exactly what those ordinances say. He's been around for many, many years, and I think he should have told the council in order to change things. What I need to talk about tonight is a little different matter. On the May 15th meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, there was a resolution for a secretary. No information was given about what the secretary would do. At the council meeting before that meeting, Mrs. Grau casually mentioned that there was a new zoning board, planning board secretary who would attend meetings and do minutes for $200 per meeting. The board was never informed about who was working in town hall with residents and applications. The last zoning board, planning board secretary was still attending meetings, but did nothing else. Mrs. Grimaldi just recently asked Mrs. Grau about who was handling the day-to-day work at town hall and was told, quote, "I was under the impression that it was common knowledge that Bernadette has been permanently assigned to the planning zoning office from Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 12:30, which was consistent with what Vince was doing," end of quote. Yes, we knew that Bernadette was helping out, but why would we think that an employee who has worked for this town for over 18 years would be moved to a part-time job? On the website, where it mentions the names of the zoning board members, it says that the secretary position is still open. She has more knowledge about things in the front office than anyone else in the entire building. So this is what our new mayor does to longtime employees. That's, not much loyalty. Also at the last meeting, we heard...
Mary Ann, can you please lower it? Thank you.
Also, we heard at the last meeting that the administrative assistant was leaving. I presume the title was purchasing assistant was leaving, but got the impression that the administrator wants a full-time administrative assistant. The zoning board is under the council. I don't understand why the clerk couldn't hire a secretary for the zoning board and let the zoning board know of what's happening. When I was hired for the zoning board, it was the clerk at the time, Julie Zykoff, who hired me with the council's approval and the council's resolution. When it became a zoning board, planning board matter, changed a little bit, but I think since the council has to do with the zoning board, it would better the interests. Again, this is just another form of why our government has to change, because, the way things are being run is not quite the way they should be. Also, a secretary for the zoning and planning does not just make copies of applicants. She interacts with residents, she checks papers to see if the dates and times of the applications are all right. It's very frustrating for young couples to come here and to ask for a zoning or a planning board matter. Deals with the engineer, the residents' reports, does the agenda, asks questions, and answers questions from zoning board members, and sends out applications. The meeting is tomorrow night. We have no agenda. We don't know if there is a meeting. We know nothing. We're not being treated very fairly when it comes to the zoning board. I don't know about the planning board, but having two different people do one job, that's what it is. It's two different people. So now, I made other arrangements for tomorrow night. So if there's a meeting, well, too bad. We have no agendas, we have nothing. I think the council, I really would like them to be able to talk about it. Also, just to go back for a few minutes, on the class, we have classes of districts in this town. The retail business district C, there's only a few spots where you can actually open a retail business or a wholesale, across the street, the shopping center, and the two stores where the florist shop is, and that's the only places in the town. So all you have to do is make that more restrictive, which I know you men are working on right now, and the more restrictive it is, the better off it is for the Township of Washington residents. The one thing that they had before, we talked about tanning parlors. In that ordinance, we used to ban, tanning parlors. The Alexandra, who came, Alexander was here, but Alexandra came, wanted to put a tanning parlor in, okay. Wanted a tanning parlor to be put in. She came to the council said, oh, okay, we'll delete what had been put in 1988 for rejection of tanning parlors to add it in. So things can be changed if they have to be, and that's what I keep getting told. So if you want something that, is important to the township residents, we could put that into.
Thank you, Ms. Osmer.
Do me a favor. Yeah, just to avoid all of this, why don't you make an announcement?
Yes.
You have an ordinance.
I-
It's done.
Okay, I
It's,
will.
with all
I
this,
agree
with
with
all
Ms.
this stuff
Bob.
goes on, come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we have ordinance number 18-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 245 zoning of the Code of the Township of Washington, adding prohibited uses to Section 245-57. Hopefully tonight we'll make an introduction of this, and we are adding the following four things: the retail or wholesale sale of marijuana, marijuana-related products or paraphernalia, irrespective of whether or not such sale is for medical-oriented purposes, inclusive of head shops, the retail or wholesale sale of vaping products or paraphernalia, or the use thereof on said premises, hatchet throwings, and sex or adult entertainment shops. So we're going to add those four prohibitions to our ordinance on first reading tonight. So if your comments, if you want to wait, you could watch us read it in a little while, but it's here on our dais and it's ready to go tonight as first reading. So, and we will also, our schedules, Officer Calamari's in the audience, we're still going to introduce the marijuana prohibition ordinance as a separate ordinance, but for now, we're just going to prohibit these four things to get it in the works. So this way it stops any future until the marijuana ordinance is finalized and we add some more language to that. So if that answers a lot of people's questions, that's great. So you just give us like another half hour, we'll get to that point of the agenda, and hopefully everybody on the dais will be in support of it and it'll get passed tonight on first reading.
Can we speak after that?
Yes, you could, they can speak. No, you can come up. Yeah, you'll have to come up.
Public hearing for next Monday. Next week.
So Mrs. Ritter is coming up.
Elizabeth Ritter, 699 Jacqueline Road. Public service, as mayor and council people, is a job with numerous hours, tireless events, and lots of complaints. It's a thankless job. So is the job of a parent. You are elected by the people to try to the best of your ability to make good choices on behalf of those you serve. So is the job of a parent. We have to make difficult decisions for our children when they are too young or too inexperienced to do so on their own. This is why I'm here this evening. On May 30th, the Township of Washington Planning Board unanimously voted against the Cedar Smoke Shop's application, sending a resounding message to our children and our community, not in our town. Several professionals in the fields of health, law enforcement, and education joined forces with community leaders to ensure that the health, and public safety of our town takes precedence. Eloquent speakers touched on rites of passage, proximity to schools, libraries, places of worship, and athletic fields, and provided information and resources to assist in being proactive in future ordinances. There is strength in numbers, and we are proud to be the voices of our children and our community. The Planning Board has chosen their legacy, and our small village is grateful. Here are a few of my concerns from the dialogue of the last meeting on Wednesday, June 6th. It is important to know what all boards and departments do in our town. It is apparent that some of you are not certain of the ins and outs. There is an enormous difference between the sale of alcohol and the sale of vape and drug paraphernalia. The sale of alcohol and tobacco is regulated and has 300 pages of said regulations, followed by a 200-page addendum. Vaping rules and regulations have roughly 15 pages. 15. Vaping pods and accessories and tobacco are available in roughly 6 businesses in the township. And while I do not know an exact percentage, I would venture a guess to say it is below 5% of their actual business. Food Town primarily sells food and goods and services. Rite Aid sells medicine, health and beauty products, and sundries. The gas station sells gas. The tobacco and vaping products are a smidgen of their business. The Cedar Smoke Shop would only sell products that would cause serious harm to our children and our community. As previously discussed, smoking is on the decline. There are statements on cigarette packaging explaining the dangers of tobacco. There are commercials on television and the radio that share the dangers of smoking based on lawsuits filed against big tobacco companies. We are not trying to prohibit democracy and a commerce-based economy. In fact, we are in favor of filling up the shops in our beautiful town center. It is now a pleasure to enter our stores there. We just want to be with businesses that enhance our beloved community, not cause any harm to the health and well-being of our families and have them in jeopardy. It is my understanding that this issue has been in discussion since January. That's 6 months. How much more analysis do we need? But apparently this part is mute because we are going to hopefully be reading it sometime today. We continually tell our children to be leaders. I ask that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Sopwitz, 849 Robinwood Road. My concern is, I was at the planning board meeting where the smoke shop was denied by, unanimously by the members of the board and the mayor. I am concerned, though, as to when they're going to pass a resolution memorializing the denial. Because when you deny a project or a store or anything coming into town, and you deny it, you have to make sure that you list all the reasons why you are denying it to make a strong record below, maybe based on the fact that the person could appeal the decision. So you have to have a strong record below. And if you check the blue book, which is the Township Code for Land Use, on page 24537, even though a lot of things are allowed, okay, you can deny them if there are good reasons. So I'm really concerned to make sure that that will be passed. Because if you could ask Mr. Cummings, I don't think they passed the resolution authorizing the denial. So I'm just saying that I think that, does anybody know when it's going to happen?
Mr. Mayor, do you know when that's going to happen?
I will make sure it happens at the next planning board meeting.
Time is of the essence when that happens. The other question I have is, if the application came in January, why did it take 4 or 5 months to surface in May? Normally at the shopping center, when a business comes in, they want to get on the agenda right away because they want to start their business to start getting revenue. So
That's a question for the planning board now.
okay. I guess I'll go to that meeting.
I'm
Thank you very
sorry,
much.
we wouldn't have that.
Thank you.
Janet, I think I can comment on behalf of the planning board to say we didn't get the completed application until March or April. They were talking back and forth, but they didn't officially put the application in.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come up at this time to address the council?
Good evening. Judith Beckmeyer, 10 Parkway Court. So I just have a comment, Mr. DeSena, on what you were proposing about the ordinances tonight. I just feel as a drug and alcohol professional, and I've seen this in other communities where ordinances were passed, it's very important that the ordinance for dispensaries is separate from the ordinance for the medical marijuana. It has to be separate.
Okay.
Okay, that's really important. And secondly, I think the Board of Health also, in addition to the list of things that you had mentioned, I don't know, you had mentioned piercing and tattoo parlors. I don't know if that was on it as well.
That's not on this ordinance right now, but
Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Jim Hanson, 11 Lindenwood Court, Washington Township. Thank you for bringing up the ordinance and looking out for the kids. My daughter's going to high school, so...
Can you talk a little louder? I'm sorry.
No worries. Thanks for
you.
letting me know. The kids walk home and they go through the shopping center, so I'm pleased to hear that you're going to bring it up. Also wanted to ask you about the field. The field I haven't heard much about in quite a while, and last year we did bring up, are we going to put down some sod? I know the field's in really rough condition again. It's still getting used. I haven't heard about it. So there's been a lot of talk about the vape shop and stuff, super important.
Mr. Cumming, do you have a report on that?
I walked the field yesterday. I would not typify it as being in really rough condition at all. There were a couple of bare patches through the injudicious non-movement of lacrosse goals and such things that wore a bit of a bare spot in the center of the field. The grass, fortunately, with the weather and work on the sprinkler system and a good chemical program, is lush and green in all areas. There is not a preponderance of weeds. I walked a circle 8 in hourglass shape around the field just yesterday afternoon and today.
So
I don't know what you're looking at, but to me
thanks for
it looks
that.
pretty good, except for the holes in the middle, and I have ordered seating immediately, and the clock turned on immediately because the seed to I just want to finish.
Yeah, please.
To allow the seed time to germinate before it gets played on again and trumped once again.
So is the field
I
closed?
have
Is the
not
field
control
closed
over
right now?
usage.
No, is the field closed?
The field is...
What?
Is it
field
closed?
not closed. No.
Well, he said he wanted time to germinate, so I'm a little, how would you define germinate? And when I was down there, I would say that there were lots of bare spots over in the plain area, and there were bare spots, yeah, in the middle of the field where it gets used.
There's bare spots in the middle.
So are you suggesting they should move off the field?
Needs to be scratched and coated, and in order for grass seed to germinate, it needs to be watered 2 or 3 times a day for at least 5 to 7 days for annual rye.
So the kids are going to start doing
They're going to
camp
play on the
when?
field. I can't get them off the field. The fields are overused as they are. But I wouldn't.
No, I understand that.
typify
That's why I
them
was
as being in
that's why I
bad
was
shape.
asking.
And I take offense to that.
I didn't realize you were in charge of the field, so it wasn't directed to
I'm
you.
not in charge of anything. I'm just
But
on the council, and I've been asked to
my
add
observation
my
was that it
expertise
was
in
in bad shape.
horticulture, for which I have an AAS degree, to grow some grass, and I'm doing the best I can.
Okay.
With very little cooperation from the people who practice on the fields.
And the kids aren't going to be practicing. The kids are going to be at summer rec. So I was just asking if there was any progress on sodding. So if the answer was we're not going to sod it.
We are not,
I have no plans to sod.
At this-
I've been given no direction to sod either.
we will have to get back to you on that, Mr.
Okay, appreciate the update. I hadn't heard. I was just asking the question. I wasn't coming here to pick fights or anything.
The
Just
preventive
looking for the
maintenance
update.
chemical program has begun.
Oh, it's underway.
It's underway. The seeding is continuous.
Samples have been taken of all the soil, and chemical tests have been done to see where we were going and what it needed. There were 24 tests done on four fields.
Okay. Are you going to make that available, like on the website? Are you going to make that available on the town website
I
so
don't do
people
that.
can see it?
We just gave that to the contractor. We emailed them all to the contractor so he could see there were a few areas that could use some additional nutrition. Not much. They were all very good.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see you're paying attention to it and look forward to seeing it lush and green in all playing seasons. So
Around the edge, it's much
thank you.
better because they didn't play their goals there every day.
Right, and the goals go in the middle because that's where the field is laid out. So it's really not up to them to move the
You
goals.
could move
There's
them
no
up and down and back and forth and around. You know, anything can be moved. With a little cooperation, it would help a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Thanks for the updates.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time?
Good evening.
Good evening.
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle, Township of Washington. Going to read just a little something here in reference to the town center. And I know tonight you've prepared some kind of ordinance. I think that's going to go through, but just for the record, there's a precedent that has been set in the existing Washington Township use ordinances that the town reserves the right to limit exclusive use businesses that would create an unnecessary and non-valuable concentration of retailers in the community. Fast food restaurants, drive-in restaurants, and snack bars are explicitly listed because according to the ordinance, the businesses, quote, have a deleterious effect on the health and safety of the community and in general are not needed to serve the public, which is already served by an adequate number of food service facilities in our community. As we brought to the attention of the planning board and the town council, we have 6 retailers, which you all know, are within a 2.9 square mile radius in the town who sell tobacco and tobacco-related products. Just like the fast food concentration example, we believe the public is adequately served by the existing tobacco retailers. In fact, based on the studies and experts in the field, we are confident that if these prohibitions are not passed, these businesses will have a negative impact on the public health of the town. We're asking that the ordinances be passed to prohibit smoke, vape, and head shop retailers from operating in the town as the community is served through the existing non-dedicated retailers, and further saturation is not warranted or needed. Now, I only say this on behalf of all the moms because I know you're going to do something to help everyone here. And I know you can't be all things to all people, but I hope the ordinance is going to cover what we discussed when it was in the planning board and the last council meeting. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Excuse me. Councilman Casio?
Yes.
No, I lost my spot.
Coming.
Coming?
Yeah, no, hold on a second. My
Oh, you
screen
lost your
just-
spot.
Yeah, my screen just went a little different here at the moment, I'm sorry. Okay. Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinances, introduction, first reading. Ordinance number 18-09, an ordinance authorizing the township to provide legal counsel and indemnification for officials, employees, and appointees of the township and certain actions brought against said officials, employees, and appointees. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 1809 at first reading by title.
Motion. Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Mr. Holmes?
Oh, Mr. Ullman, I'm sorry, Councilman Ullman.
It's quite all right. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I didn't forget you.
I dropped my ear thing at the same time.
Resolution number 18-236, authorizing publication of ordinance number 18-09 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules at this time?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Ordinance number 18-10, can I have a motion?
Yeah, read the title.
Read the title. An ordinance amending Chapter 245 zoning of the Code of the Township of Washington, adding prohibited uses to Section 245-57. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance 18-10 at first reading by title.
Where are you reading that from, Mike? I'm sorry.
It's in our,
And
in your packet.
you've got a sample of it in your packet in the conference section.
Okay.
I motion.
You motioned it,
Yeah.
Mr. Casca? Do I have a second?
Yeah, right there. Second.
Mr. Bruno, you second?
Yeah.
Councilman Bruno?
Before we vote, yep.
Yes, Mr.
Sorry.
Ullman.
Are we voting on 1810 or 18247?
1810, the ordinance, 247 authorizes it to go out for publication and for a public hearing.
So this hasn't been, we haven't had our first reading yet on this.
No,
will be the first
this will be the first reading.
So I guess it was Mrs. Beckmeyer who inquired about adding 2 items. At this point, if we did that, it would not delay.
No, it
moving
would
this
not
forward.
delay that. So gentlemen, if you would like to add tattoo and piercing to, it would become ABC, PQRST, number T, right? We'd have to add a T. And it would be piercings, Mrs. Beckmeyer, it would be piercing and tattoo parlors? Is everybody amenable to adding piercing and tattoo parlors?
I think also it was mentioned, and there was an example that I think we need to distinguish between recreation and medical.
Well, that'll be in the marijuana ordinance that we're still working on, so.
Yeah, but this marijuana ordinance says, I just don't think it's written properly, because it says sale is for medical-oriented inclusive head shops, and you know, so we're mentioning medical, but we're just, I think in some of the ordinances that I read in the other towns, they separately distinguish, and as long as Ms. Beckmeyer said also. So I think it needs to properly be worded.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, okay?
We're going to pass the other ordinance.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. This is, you know, you can always refine these ordinances, and you can always add to them. As a matter of fact, I spoke to Mr. Zed about widening the ordinance, because contrary to the previous comment that was made that it could only be sold in the retail area, there could be a non-conforming use in a other zone.
In a residential, somebody can do it as a...
And therefore, I said that there should be really a broader, this should take care of the retail, but there's another place where I would actually expand it to make it anywhere in the town, regardless of whether it was in a residential zone or a non-conforming use or whatever.
Yeah,
So I think that there's still more work to be done.
Yeah,
In
Mr. Powell and I
addition-
discussed that.
And in addition, as per the previous discussions about the marijuana, that was something that was a standalone, but there was also something that Officer Calamari was getting involved in.
We've been, you know...
To do more the discussion about and to even refine it further. So you can get into doing all those things, and it's good. But bearing in mind what you're trying to accomplish now, and bearing in mind that the people are looking for you to get this thing in effect, you know, you can wait forever to get exactly what you think you need.
Just blanket it now.
Let's just blanket, let's just add T if everybody's okay, the piercing and tattoo parlors. And do I have to read it?
Excuse me, Mike.
Can-
The administrator just kind of reminded me, piercing, does that affect ear piercing? And do we know if the jewelry store does that as part of their existing course of business?
Just leave it as read, we can always add it later, and
You want me to take that
it's
T?
written the way it is.
Okay,
can always
we
come
could always
back at a
add
later
piercing
date
and tattoo
do it.
parlor.
I don't think if that action moves in, it would be a major.
And with the introduction of legalized gambling in the state, although it's currently only available at certain locations, would we want to get in front of that now?
I think we're throwing too much at this.
Okay.
What's that? Yeah, if everybody could just quiet down. Let's introduce it the way it was written, and we can always refine it at a later time. We still are working on the marijuana ordinance with Officer Calamari and the Board of Health. We're going to get as much input as possible. Maybe the mayor and I could sit with Mrs. Beckmeyer, since she's got a lot of expertise on this, just to review her thoughts on it, and Mr. Calamari probably want to do that. And we'll go from there. But for now, let's leave ordinance 18-10 as introduced. Should I just read it really quick?
Yeah. Just a comment, you know, you have the advisory board of health, and they're supposed to advise the council and the mayor on health issues in the town, and we don't have any communication with them for whatever reason. And that's imperative. There's a reason why there is a board of health. I'm assuming they're meeting every month, right?
No,
Every
we're not
quarter.
meeting every month.
Every other month?
Every quarter.
It used to be a monthly meeting. Why it went down to a quarter?
Because you cut them.
We cut their budget?
Yeah, down to 5
Okay.
meetings a year.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, that's the reason why
So I
we
think
have
we're
them to
losing, yeah.
advise on these issues. And that being said,
So
let's,
if everybody's okay, let's just introduce an ordinance amending Chapter 245 zoning of the Code of the Township of Washington, adding prohibited uses to Section 245. I have a motion, I have a second. Can I get a roll call?
Yeah, I just want to have I don't have a problem with it, but, you know, we keep talking, again, I don't think we're complete in our thought process, and it took us 5 months to get 4 lines, which kind of embarrassing. I think if we would have been ahead of this in January, when we had it on the agenda, we would have not been in a position. I also feel what needs to be addressed is what former Mayor Madam brought up about the planning board needs to get their act together so that it doesn't come back and bite us also. So how are we addressing, you know, I have no problem with this, I mean, yes, but how are we addressing everything else? And how long is it gonna take? It's gonna be another 5 months?
The planning board has its act together, and it hasn't had a meeting since then. So we'll do so at its next meeting.
No, that,
I think, Mr. Bruno, we've been working diligently on getting the marijuana ordinance, completed. It's a lot of work. You know, we're all busy. I think this is a quick way that I came up with to prohibit these uses.
Mike, I'm not disagreeing with you.
And I mean,
5 months
I'm the new
ago, we
guy.
brought it
I
up.
understand it's been 5 months, but it's a lot of work, and we're
It's a
working
lot of
on
work
it.
for a sentence. I'm okay with it, believe me. I have no problem with it. We have one sentence, but now it's going to be a lot of work for everything else. So, yeah, I voted yes.
Okay. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
No.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 18-247, authorizing publication of ordinance 18-10 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Consent agenda. All of the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 18-237, 3-year cooperative agreement representatives. Resolution 18-238, authorized refund of escrow fees, Block 3402, Lot 1, 273 Pascack Road. Resolution 18-239, authorized refund of escrow fees, Wingley Kitchen LLC. Resolution 18-240, authorize renewal of plenary retail consumption license for Island Way Bakari Grill year 2018-2019. Resolution 18-241, authorize renewal of plenary retail consumption license for Amy LLC Doghouse Saloon and Grill year 2018-2019. Resolution 18-242, authorize renewal of plenary retail consumption license for TJG Inc., also known as Seasons Catering, year 2018-2019. Resolution 18-243, authorize renewal of plenary retail distribution license for Township Liquors, year 2018-2019. Resolution 18-244, authorize renewal of club license for Washington Township Columbian Club, year 2018-2019. Resolution 18-245, authorize renewal of club license for Washington Township Recreation Club, year 2018-2019. And Resolution 18-246, authorize renewal of plenary retail consumption license for CB Restaurants, Charlie Brown's, year 2018-2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second, but I have a question after we do roll. Or, I guess. The doghouse, they've also attached a letter requesting late-night openings, or late closings, excuse me. Is that under consideration, or no? Is that a separate issue?
If you could, I thought it was a separate issue, so is that correct?
Well, last year, we had done two separate resolutions. One was their renewal of the license, and then the other one was later on when it was, oops, they forgot to get me the letter, and we put it through. So what I did was this year, I did incorporate it in the one resolution so that everything is done at one shot. The same request for the night before Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve.
Okay, so
Like, it'd be a special condition, but not like a physical special condition of a door being opened or something, just their hours.
It's the same 2 nights, right?
Yes, the same 2 nights is what they always ask for.
And Mr. Pollard, if these resolutions were to fail, what's the consequence?
I would assume that they're going to have an issue, and they'd have to get in touch with the ABC.
Okay.
Because you're the local issuing authority. And so if you don't give them their extension, then they'd have to go to the ABC.
So we could stop the sale of alcohol, at least temporarily, if it failed.
What's being sold? Something's being sold.
Alcohol.
Oh, I thought you were
Stop the
saying,
sale of
yes, I
alcohol
see.
if this didn't pass.
I don't know if there's a time period during which if there's an appeal to the ABC that they're still allowed to sell. So that may not be the case. There may be a permission to continue until it's heard by the ABC. Don't forget, you're the issuing authority. If you had a problem, it would have to go back to the ABC. So.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call?
We have a motion.
For this whole consent?
Yes.
I have just
Oh,
one,
sorry.
I have one request. Can we vote separately on the first one, since it involves myself and Mr. Cumberland?
Could you abstain from it instead? Can they abstain from it?
I think just a separate vote.
Okay.
I don't want to abstain from everything, I just want to abstain from that, just vote on it separately, that's all.
Okay,
Mr. Casio has asked that 18237 be voted on separately because it involves naming Mr. Cumming and Mr. Casio to that. They're the representatives.
All right, okay, yeah, I understand.
Okay, so we'll pull 182-37 and vote for it separately. Do I have a roll call for everything on the consent agenda except for 18-237?
okay, so we will do Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Can I have a motion for Resolution 18-237, three-year cooperative agreement representatives?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Abstain.
Councilman Cumming?
Abstain.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Adjournment to conference agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Next regular meeting of the Township Council will be on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2018, beginning...
Monday. Sorry.
What's that?
Monday.
It'll be Monday, excuse me.
Sorry.
Monday, July 2nd, 2018, beginning at 7:30. Moving into the conference agenda.
This one?
Project Tracker.
Do you just want me to field any questions you might have?
I guess, I see the floors are going down, they look great.
Yeah, they were installed in the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor, as well as the violations clerk's office. We did not have the cove molding put up because the painting hadn't been done yet. Originally, my plan was to try to save some dollars and use our staff. I understand there were some concerns. Well, first of all, the time did not allow between those freak storms we suffered and just getting everything else done. So with that, we've been soliciting quotes. Mr. Lawler took a few well-deserved days off, and he was not here today, so I'm not aware whether we have 2 quotes in for that. The good thing is, because it's a renovation, the threshold for prevailing wage is $50,000 as opposed to the lower threshold for new construction. So hopefully we'll be proceeding with that. And they did come back. There will be, they brought some swatches for the stairs. We issued a purchase order for that, and they have to do some humidity testing for the 2 basement locations, one in Town Hall and one in the police department, to make sure that the tile and adhesive that was selected would adhere properly. So we're looking forward to that as well. But they look great, and it's amazing the amount of dust, not only generated by the project itself, but behind furniture that hadn't been moved in years. The staff was great internally. Everybody was cooperative. We didn't end up having to shut down Town Hall because the contractor came back for the 2nd floor in the evenings. It was a little dicey between 4 and 4:30 when we're all trying to get things done, and they're trying to get started. And shout out to the DMF who came and helped us as we needed to move boxes around. Now we've been getting to try to purge. Ideally, that would have happened beforehand, but we're doing it as we can. We're trying not to restore some of the cluttered office conditions back to the way they were.
Okay. John, anything else for the Project Tracker?
Yeah, just
Yes,
2
Mr.
questions, or a couple of questions. On page 1, it looks like it's the 3rd one down, the ADA curb cuts.
Yes.
Just difference between the 41 and the 123.
Well, yes. So last year, we were advised that Washington Avenue and Ridgewood Road were on the list of the county roads to be paved. The former mayor immediately had and I asked Mr. Statiel, who was the engineer at the time, to look at the curb cuts on those roads. The county requires that any curb cuts that have been installed must be ADA compliant. Apparently, Mr. DeSena probably is well aware of this, that when they were originally installed by many municipalities and public entities years ago, they were done improperly. It does not mandate that you have to install them where none exist. And Mr. Statiel at the time had done a walkthrough and came up with a list. Mr. Azalina used that list, and that's where he came up with the 41,000. Apparently, he says that the county rep changed his mind on Washington Avenue and Ridgewood as to the scope of what needs to be done. And then on top of it, once we receive the contract from the county that we have to follow the bid, and as we would like, any contract, construction contract for over $100,000 mandates a performance bond to protect the taxpayers. And so that's a cost that was not factored into the 41. In addition, the 41 did not include Ridgewood Road at the time. At the time.
But it is a reimbursable cost.
It is a reimbursement. I don't know that we're going to get 100%, but it's supposed to be a reimbursement because we're using their contract.
Correct.
So that's a very good point. That is.
It is 100% reimbursable cost, Mr. Rowe.
But to address his concern about why the number's so much higher.
No, but it is a 100% reimbursable cost from the county.
Okay. The second question I had was, there's a comment about mulch, and it would be discussed at the meeting.
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that up. So, Mr. Lawler brought to my attention that when he had prepared his budget, he did not factor in replacing mulch at the playgrounds. The reason being, in 2017, it wasn't done, and apparently it's an every other year thing. So it's a fairly sizable amount of money. It's about $12,000. So you can't, if we take that from their budget, that would be a big budget hole. So we need to figure out what to do. I was trying to work with the CFO to see if there was some way we could tap into another line.
Is that certified playground mulch?
Yes,
We're certain of that?
yes, right here.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not buying regular mulch.
No, yards of certified playground mulch supplied and installed. It's under a co-op pricing structure. It's $11,625. The majority of it is for Clarkfield. That's 200 cubic yards.
200 yards?
Excuse me, yes, 60 cubic yards for Gardner and 50 for Memorial.
Did we ever look into the,
I can't believe Jeff hasn't written it up.
a rubber mulch that they have, like if you go to Van Zorn Park?
I think that's what this is. It's certified.
Not rubber, it's not
There's not
rubber.
rubber?
No. No.
Okay.
We'll spend 10 times that, Mr. Bruno, if we do rubber.
And it comes up into the kids' the treads of their shoes. They end up bringing it, I mean, you're gonna have to probably replace
Just
that.
like the fill of the,
What, the rubber, not the
No,
rubber?
the rubber is sealed. No, what
The
Mr.
rubber's
Bruno,
sealed,
it's
yeah,
sealed. It
it's-
wouldn't.
Oh, you're talking about the floor that's like a, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the
that.
sponge floor.
It's make-believe mulch, but
Yes.
it's nice, I mean.
Oh, no, that's different. That's loose. If it's mulch, it's loose. I
No,
No, he's talking about the rubber floor.
He's talking about the rubber flooring. Okay. In any event,
Our
if,
12,000 will probably become 150,000, Mr. Bruno, easily if we did that.
Would it be one time,
No, it needs maintenance.
every 2 years?
It depends on how the roots grow from the trees, and it has issues with that, Mr. Olman.
well, so here's what I want to bring up. So when Mr. Lawler brought this to my attention, we brought it to the mayor's attention. We were trying to figure out how to fund this. Also asked him, is it in fact, does it need to be done, or is this a salesman trying to make another sale? So we're going to ask the JIF representative to come take a look and see what is recommended. We just want to bring this to you as a heads up because at some point now we're going to have to transfer down the line because we cannot figure out a way to utilize another fund. And right now, I think with what we've been doing with, depends on what happens with Memorial, you had put almost 40,000 and not that much has been spent from that. But again, that could change too. There are other lines in the budget that we could find it. It can't be a capital expense because it's not in the nature of a capital project. So just wanted to bring it to your attention, that it's something that's on the radar. It's a sizable expense, and I'll update you. Bill's been out, and I was trying to get some updates on these, so by next meeting, we'll have a plan.
I have a feeling Jeff's going to come back and say we need it. Clark is Dominic's favorite playground, and it's missing a lot of mulch.
Do you know when the last time we replaced mulch was?
He said it was 2016,
Yeah,
so I don't know what the life is. I do remember it since I've been here, and it was in the
They
spring.
all need mulch, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They're bare, I mean, it's
It's
hard.
bare in some spots.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So how much is it,
so then it
12,000?
seems like that we should do it. I mean, that is the mayor's consensus, that's what Bill's consensus
Is it
is. So you know
12,000?
personally that we need it. We just want to make sure that this isn't going to be an issue down the road.
I think we need to find it because it doesn't.
Is it 12,000?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 11,625. We could,
So I'll go through the budget and I'll find the pockets.
well, this is the thing, right now, we can't charge to another line. We have to charge to a line that is,
Yeah, but you can make an appropriate, can't you move it, make an appropriation?
not until, no, that's what I'm saying, not until the transfer. So down the road, we'll have it. I think we'll have enough money. But I just want to make you aware that come November 1, there's going to be a resolution to do a transfer.
When would you plan to do it?
As soon as possible. I'll talk to Bill. Because it's a co-op, you don't need a second quote.
We need one or we don't?
We don't. We don't, and I verified the pricing.
Anything else on the project tracker, gentlemen?
yeah, Mike, the specs for the basketball court, do you know what type of surface they're looking at for that? Is it one of the newer surfaces, or are we just talking macadam? Any idea?
I
Or-
believe it was No, I can't really say. I can talk to Paul Azzalina. I do know that, do you know?
He was going to give us a couple different options, and then let us pick.
Because, you know, what we saw down at the league, they had so many great surfaces that are really maintenance-free.
Yeah, and he's done a lot in his other towns, so he's
Paramus did a
familiar with it.
fantastic courts over there,
Oh,
and they
did they?
last
Okay.
very, very long. It's a little bit more expensive, but I'd rather spend a couple
Yeah,
more
something like
dollars.
that.
It's a lot safer for the athletes down there. So, you know, I'd like to work with him if it's okay.
Sure.
on that.
Sure, great.
Anything else, gentlemen, on the tractor?
Yeah, I just have a question. I mean, this is going to be the hottest week of the summer, and for the last 2 years, we're told the heat is best for paving roads. And I read that we need to determine roads and awaiting specs still.
Yes, I mean, I've been asking Mr. Azzalina for a while now. I don't know if Peter has an update on it. I actually thought tonight was going to be the night when...
Yeah. I don't have an update, but I'll reach out to him first thing tomorrow.
I think the plan was, last we spoke, now that my mind's refreshed, last meeting, we were considering the co-op again, and then we weren't, because his plan is to go out to bid. You authorized the advertisement of bids. That can't happen, though, until the specs are done. So his plan was to take the bids in, I think, the Thursday before your second meeting in July. And that was, he had to confirm with Ken that would allow Ken time to review it. I'm actually going to be on vacation. He said that we could have someone else, he can open them or Sue can open the bids. But anyway, he did have a time frame in mind. He's well aware of the time sensitivity of the matter.
I guess I don't understand why we're always behind the 8 ball. I mean, we budgeted for roads in February, March, April. Now it's June, and we're still, you know, we're still trying to understand what the specs are and whether we're going to co-op or not co-op.
I think,
And the summer's going to pass us by, and then the leaves will fall, and then we're going to be stuck again.
I don't know what to tell you. Last year, we went out to bid, we opened bids in June, early June. So either you have an aggressive capital program this year, and Mr. Azzalina has a lot to do. So he's trying to juggle everything, I believe. You know, between the intersection and the firehouse and all the grants.
Well, the firehouse, we have a consultant doing that, so that's separate. The intersection, you know, is the intersection, but, you know, the roads are important. And again, we just seem to not even take one step forward. So I just don't understand why we're still talking specs and co-op and whether we're going co-op.
We're not going co-op, Mr.
No, we're not going co-op.
So
but-
why haven't we made a decision on the specs and moved this project forward?
No, we
It's
haven't
June.
seen the specs. We haven't seen the specs. So
I
I don't
know,
know,
so-
I can't give answers. This is Mr. Azzalina's court.
Okay.
There's nothing that
Okay.
the
You promised us
administration.
we'd have it for the third week of July, so I think we need to ensure, you know, Mr. Mayor, can we get an update on that?
Sir.
What's that?
So you have 1 month to
He has
pave?
1 month to get his bids.
No, but to pave, then you're gonna pave in August, and then that's it?
Well, they can pave into September. I mean, you got plenty, you know, you got August and September.
Have we heard from the county?
Regarding, the intersection. I don't know, Peter.
Well, there was a question as to whether we had to do the ADA curb cuts first, and I think Paul was trying to get them to budge a little bit on that. They like the curb cuts done first in ADA, but Paul was trying to see if he could swap them so we get the road paved first. So I'll get an update from him as to what he is talking with the county about that also.
I just saw some county roads by my neck of the woods that the curb cuts were not redone, so they must be willing to do it in some circumstances.
Are they expensive for us to do?
What's that?
Well, no, they didn't
It's
give
the
us a date.
$141,000 number, which is going to get reimbursed by the county.
So whether we do it or not, then we still get reimbursed, right?
No, we have to do it. It has to
We
be
have, it
done.
has to be done. Okay.
Typically, like you like to put the cart before the horse, so you do the curb cuts first and
And then
pave
you
neatly
pave.
around them. But
Right.
you can do them backwards. It's just you get a patch. That's
You
all.
cannot
It's
get
hard to
reimbursed.
separate.
No, wait, you can't, just a technical question, I know what you're getting at. Can we go through our own contractor? You can't unless you can show that it's less than the county contractor.
Okay.
which is probably never going to happen.
Never,
So-
it's such a low number.
So, solar-powered pedestrian signs. PD to submit 2 quotes unless under state contract. When were they contacted? When did they get back to us? How long have we been waiting on this?
Well, they could only start thinking about it after the estoppel period ran on the 13th. I mean, they could have priced them out. I don't know if the mayor has had any conversations. I think Captain Hackworth had been the point person. There's been a transition, as you may know, so I'm not sure who's in charge of this now.
Yeah, who's the new traffic safety officer, Pete? Do you know?
Glock.
John?
Glock.
Okay.
Glock.
Thanks.
I'd like to have an update on the timeline and how long it takes to do this. The dump trucks? We reached out to the DMF to determine if the truck, we reached out to the DMF. How long, what's the story, what's happening?
Well, again, Mr. Lawler has not been in. He took some long overdue vacation.
How many days?
Art, this was,
Is this 2 weeks, a month, 3 months? I mean, what do
well,
we...
no, it's been since at least the last council meeting, because if it's not in bold, that means it's old information.
Well, let's get some answers.
All right, let's move on.
We're getting nowhere here.
CFO, just one other thing.
We're going to go down the list, Mr.
No, it's on the tracker.
Well, it's number 4 on the administration
Oh,
list.
so you want to put it there?
Well, it's on there already, so we're
Okay,
gonna,
that's fine.
Firehouse progress report, Mr. Mayor? We're gonna,
I heard from the ambulance corps. They want a meeting with me to
Right.
discuss, for lack of a better term, the terms of them joining forces on the same property as the firehouse. So we'll try and schedule that meeting for later this week, but it's moving along.
do we have an update from the architect, and we'll have the cost reports?
Again, I think I said at the last meeting, they didn't want to do costs until they knew if the ambulance corps was coming in or not.
Okay.
I expect to have that answer. The ambulance corps said, based on the answers we have in this meeting that I have for them, they're ready to move ahead one way or another, but they'll let me know for sure.
Okay.
So has the architect done 2 designs?
Yes, he has.
So assuming one includes the ambulance
They
corps and one does not.
completed a study.
Exactly.
They've done 2 drawings, I'm assuming one with and one without.
Correct.
But they won't give us costs until we make a decision?
Correct.
Well, I would like to request that we get both ways.
I'm sorry, Michael.
I'd like to request that we get both ways. We have to look at this holistically. If we're going to look at the fire department, if we're going to look at the DMF, if we're going to look at the ambulance, if we're looking at property acquisition, if we're looking at all of these items, I think it would be beneficial to understand what the cost of these, because if we do it without a cost component, we could give them everything, but someone's going to have to pay for it. So if with or without the ambulance at the firehouse is a difference of $10,000, $500,000, or $1 million, I think it would be beneficial to understand that when we're making decisions.
I'll ask them for both.
Anything else on that, gentlemen? Intersection progress report, nothing's been,
Correct.
It's still, it's being prepared for our review. It has not been completed by Mrs. Dargis' team yet at the county, so we still don't have it.
So that won't happen this year then, right?
I've said that before, Mr.
I know,
Bruno.
I'm just
think-
reiterating the
Yeah.
fact that it's not going to happen. So
We've moved, I don't think the survey could have done any quicker. The mayor had Mr. Azzolino prepared as soon as possible. It's sitting in Mrs. Dargis' office as soon as it was completed. It's up to them now to draft that work.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably a couple more, I'd say, if we have it before summer ends, she said early September we might have it, so.
That's good.
doesn't mean it's a full document for us to go out to bid with, but it'll give us a good idea of what the project will look like.
So I just don't want the taxpayers to have to pay for an amount we fund that we're not going to use. That's all. We've
We
budgeted.
may, if everything goes well, you may be able to go out late this year for bids and hold on, and, if the county can for 2019 and go that route. Mr.
Yeah,
Bruno.
again, I just want to make sure we don't bond money this year for something we're going to do next year.
Okay.
Because we already have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting around doing nothing.
Well, that's a capital bond, right? So you can technically use it next year, right, Mary?
I'm sorry.
We bonded the money for the...
You can use it, yeah, it doesn't go
You
away.
can use it, you
Yeah.
don't have to wait a
And-
year, you can use it
And you
the
don't
next
have
year.
to borrow on it, you don't have to draw on it, you're authorized. When
Right.
she issues bans, she can or cannot. If you think you're gonna do it before the next maturity date, you would do it.
Right.
You would get it now.
But yeah, we're not
It's
going to meet that
It's not
maturity
like we're
date.
gonna hold the money, Bob.
Yeah.
As soon as we have it there, when we're ready to go, we're gonna spend it and get that intersection.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, once you borrow it, you pay interest.
Right.
So what are you going to pay interest for it sit in the bank when we don't get any interest from the bank either? So it's meaningless to borrow money to charge the taxpayers interest on something you're not going to do. That's my point. That's my whole point.
I agree,
All right, thank you.
but we're gonna use it.
CFO, any update on the CFO?
We're still taking applications. When does the ad run through, Mary Ann? The end of this week? I
The
think it says?
21st, we're waiting to see, sometimes you have last minute gems that come in. We have a few that we're interested in.
So you think by our next meeting, we'll have some possible candidates?
Yes.
Would we be able to get their resumes once we narrow the field down, or
Sure.
is that okay with you, Mr. Bruno?
Yeah, sure.
Infrastructure study, I guess this goes to your point, Mr. Ullman, the infrastructure study and the DMF study. I know we were going to look at the prior DMF study and maybe updating it with the architect that's working on the firehouse.
Well, I think this goes a little further insofar as it's more of a property study to look at our available properties in town and look at our existing buildings, kind of like what was proposed last year when we were looking at the Bethany Church property. So it's now funded, now that the budget is done. Let me say, I'd like council input on this and, work together with the council on this. I don't know, Ken, if you know, can we take that same proposal that we had last year and run with it, or do we have to go out for new requests if we choose to use?
Proposal from, so
Yeah.
I would think you should get a current proposal.
You get a new proposal, but we could use the same,
Yeah.
same MO
Yeah,
as the
for
last
sure.
proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll reach out and get a current proposal and start it going. But once he's ready, I'd like council to work with him also.
Sounds like a plan. Sponsor popcorn for movie night?
The Public Affairs is having a movie night this year. I forget, it's one night in August. And they asked me if the mayor and council would be interested in sponsoring the popcorn for the evening. About $250. So
We okay
I
with
think
that,
there's
Joe?
enough room in our respective budgets to do that.
Yeah, council.
That's what.
Yeah.
Are we okay, everybody?
Yes.
I'll let them know. Thanks.
Thank you. Council ordinances and legislation, the social media follow-up. So, perfect timing. Glen Rock's personal, based on my social media request.
I'm sorry, can I just go
Oh,
back?
you wanted to go back, Mr.
Yeah, I do.
Bruno?
Not that I care about buying popcorn for a movie, but, for years, I keep saying, we have $85,000 sitting in some fund for public affairs and public relations and all these activities. I'll be happy to buy popcorn and butter and salt, it doesn't bother me, but, so I guess I'm a little confused as to why we're being asked to sponsor something.
It was just asked if we wanted to. In effect, almost, I see what you're saying, and it doesn't matter if we take it from pot A or pot B, but just the committee asked me to ask, they thought it would be a nice idea to have the mayor and council sponsor it, but
I think it's a great idea. If we take it out of the money that's already been allocated, it's even better idea. Anything else, Mr. Bruno?
Yep.
Social media follow-up. After the determination that came down in Glen Rock that personal Facebook pages are an operable request, who you block and who you don't like. I think there's some guidance we should possibly introduce for ourselves and future council to protect them from having the same thing happen. It's in the Bergen Record this week. A judge found that you cannot, if somebody wants to open your personal Facebook, you have to give it to them. So I think we need to set some policies. I think Sue has provided us a few, right? So maybe we could review those. What's that?
Yeah, there is some.
There is some in the packet, correct? So maybe we could look at that and in the upcoming meetings and have some discussion on that. Mr. Pollard, maybe if you could look at the ones Susan provided and see how we can tailor one of them to our form of government.
Ken, would that go in the employee handbook ideally,
Well,
or an ordinance? Or?
I mean, it depends, let me take a look at
Oh,
what they
okay,
have
I was
here.
just curious.
Yeah, if you could take a look at the ruling also from Glen Rock, because it was
Yeah, I think the ruling, understanding the ruling would be important. I mean, I think it's not just you have to open your social media, or is it?
it's saying that the person on the council had to release who he blocked on his Facebook account. And he said it was his personal account, so therefore he didn't have to. And the judge says, no, you're a public figure, you need to, because I guess by blocking people, you're infringing on their, I'm not an attorney, but the way the article's written is that you're infringing on their speaking rights and you can't
It's
do
the
that.
whole Twitter thing with the president.
Correct. So if we can just follow up on that, I think it's something we need to address. We already covered zoning prohibited uses. MEL legal bulletin, Sue?
Mr. Pollard was going to review that and just compare it with the no-knock registry. We had a short discussion the other day.
Yeah, actually, I did more than that. I actually was looking beyond that broadly, solicitation in general, not just the no-knock situation, and took a look at that case. And the case that the Mel was bringing up had to do with a case where they felt that the fingerprinting of solicitors was unwarranted and an unconstitutional act, and also the hours that they were prescribed from canvassing, and they were First Amendment type of situations. So, doing a few things, I wrote to the Mel's attorney to get some input from him, to see if they have a prototype or an approved, ordinance from that score, and looking at a few other options in terms of what hour. We don't have the fingerprinting, we don't have the hour type thing, and.
Do we require them to have IDs?
Wait. And then the case was clear that it had nothing to do with trade, had to do with First Amendment. This case had nothing to do with the regular solicitation of selling wares and stuff like that. That case did not focus on that. There is some, you have to do an application.
Because I had some solicitors at my house the other night at 8:45 at night in the dark, no ID. I know my neighbors called the police department, and I don't know what came of that. But there was a group of them being driven around in cars with no ID tags. They were doing some kind of clean energy, but they rang my bell at 8:45 in the pitch dark. Well, it was lit up in front of my house, but it was not a.
Well, Clean Energy has come in, but they, I think when you and I spoke, Ken, they are exempt from the no-knock, but 8:30 at night is.
Yeah. It's interesting, when you said 8:45, because the thing that they struck down was something 9 o'clock. They didn't like prohibiting before that.
So 15 minutes.
Okay.
Gotta keep on your shows and watch them later, that's all.
Pitch black or not.
Well, they don't want to.
So when you register for the no-knock, correct, and someone has a permit to come.
They shouldn't be knocking.
Right, so I had last week, and it wasn't, I don't know who it was, they came and knocked around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So how does that work if it doesn't work,
Call the police.
Yeah, I know, we can do that.
But you're saying
We're
clean
registered
energy-
to
No,
know
I'm just saying.
No, but I'm saying, are they exempt from that?
I don't know if Clean Energy is, they may very well be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are exempt from the
That's what you
no-knock?
yeah.
When I called you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't do
I
it.
don't know if
It's
it's
on
clean
the-
energy, because I didn't answer the door, so I have no idea.
That was me, Bob.
Yeah, it was Mike Ullman. I would have seen you, Mike.
Anything else on the solicitation ordinances, Mr. Powell?
No.
Mr. Ullman, you had asked for the tree ordinance to remain on the agenda?
Anything else?
So, Mr. Azzolino reached out to me. I guess he either saw or was advised by the administration about my concerns on the house on Jackson, and he also wanted to speak about some potential changes to the tree ordinance. I have been on vacation for the last 10 days, so I have not had a chance to speak with him, but I will, and if there's a need to amend or have Paul come in to speak to us about it, we certainly can.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Ullman?
On the tree ordinance?
Not tree ordinance.
No.
One of the things that bothers me about our own tree ordinance is that when you drive down Woodfield Road, I think the storm that took down the trees on Woodfield Road happened, what, 7 weeks ago? The trees that are on our property, and again, I always talk about making our house clean, those trees have been sitting on the ground now for 7 weeks.
I've seen there for years, actually.
No, there's these are the new ones
Yeah, I
that
know
just
the
fell,
new
Mr.
ones are
Brewer.
there, but the old ones have been there.
The
for
old ones
years.
that fell in the back, no harm, no foul. But we've had a broken sidewalk now for 7 weeks with a cone in it. A tree that's been laying across the sidewalk for 7 weeks. I mean, how long do we give Mr. Lawler to get these things corrected? It's something that's got to be addressed quicker than 7 weeks. And it still hasn't been addressed. It's been 7 weeks. I asked about the fence up the road on Woodfield Road in January. It's leaning over into the eyesight of people walking by, and that fence is sat there. I have a picture of it every week, because every night I come home from Food Town, I look at that fence, and my stomach turns, because we talked about the fence in January. Now we have a storm that happened 7 weeks ago. We made all the residents clean up their garbage along the streets, and we can't clean up our own. It's embarrassing. You know, we have a sidewalk that the children are supposed to go to the library with it sank because the tree hit it. Yes, it was a hard impact. But, I mean, if it happened in front of my house, I would have fixed it within a week. It's been 7 weeks. I mean, I don't think we should have to email. There's signs, you know, there were signs put up. I mean, it's my block, so I know. There's no parking signs that are at a 45-degree angle to the street. When our guys are driving down the road, shouldn't somebody be making a note of this and saying, hey, there's a sign on Beach Street that's leaning into traffic. We should go back and fix that sign. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, I hate being a broken record, but if we're gonna make the residents do it, we have to do it. And, you know,
I will, Mr. Lawler has been concerned about Woodfield. We did file an insurance claim. He did meet the adjuster. I will follow up with him. And I think there was discussion, did we discuss about doing the sidewalk with the road program? I guess it can't wait. We can try to do it with, so I'll talk to Mr. Lawler and make this a priority.
So,
but I think as our staff drives up and down the streets picking up recycling, we don't pick up recycling. When they pick up household debris, you know, if somebody sees something, they should say something to Mr. Lawler, or Mr. Lawler driving in his new Expedition should be noting this stuff down and sending the guys back during the next shift to get this stuff repaired. It shouldn't have to be residents coming to the town, or, you know, we drive up and down these streets once, you know, I'd say, you know, they're up and down every street in town once a week. Right? So, you know, somebody driving down Beach Street, there's a sign, I mean, it's literally laying like this. A UPS truck hit it the other day and made the loudest noise, the one up, you know which one I'm talking about. And it's been like that for 3 months. My neighbors told me about it, and I'm just letting it go because I want to see how long it takes for somebody to take action to it. And finally tonight, because of the trees on Woodfield, I mean, it's something we need. You know, there's trees at the end of Beach in the Hillsdale forest, I call it. The thing has been rotten. It's been marked 3 times. When are we going to cut it down? It's a hazard. You know, there's trees in Times Square with yellow tape around it for 8 weeks.
No, well, that, just so you know, it's hard to get these contractors. The tree companies are,
I call Amoroso, he's at my house, I had a tree fall, he was at my house 24 hours later, took the entire tree and the stump out. If we have to pay for it out of another line item and not wait for insurance, but we gotta be a little, you know, that tape in Times Square has sat there for 8 weeks.
We budgeted tree cutting, it's in
well,
the
no,
budget. We budgeted tree
there's a
cutting.
purchase order was issued for that. It's just a matter of getting the contractor out there. We have
And we
to-
need a different contractor. They
Well, then we
can't-
will, we do, and I don't know the name of this company, I'll relate it to Bill. We have 3 that we get quotes from, and they're usually pretty timely, but I'll get that.
I mean, I could have a guy there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock if we have to. I mean, we need to just either find different contractors or a different way of doing business, because the yellow tape, I mean, especially in Times Square, people walk their dogs every day. I walk my own dogs there. It's just an embarrassment. There's yellow tape in the middle there, and the tree's been hanging for 8 weeks. I mean, how long does it take to cut it down?
We also talked about receiving a list of open purchase orders. I mean, maybe if we knew these purchase orders were there, we knew something was happening, but we haven't seen that either.
Well, I thought the discussion was to wait till the new CFO comes in and.
No. The discussion was we'd like to see a list of purchase orders. The discussion is we'd like to see the list of checks that are going to be cut. I mean, we keep discussing it. We're not waiting for anybody. Time to wait for the CFO. The streets won't even be paved. So, I just like to, again, we ask for these things. All we want to do is see what's out there. What are the purchase orders? If we see purchase orders for tree cutting, then we know something's going to be done. Then we have it on the tracker. It's down on the tracker. We developed this 2 years ago. And you're right. I agree with Mike the Center. It's you walk around town, it's just horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Well, to the point with the trees, we talked about for years about getting a chipper. We have guys that can do the work. They need to be trained. Other towns have a chipper. Why is Washington Township any different? Then we wouldn't have to worry about getting a service to do it. Hey, Joe and John, here's the chipper. Go chip away. Get rid of the stuff. It's not rocket science.
But if the contractors aren't being responsive, we need to find different ones. And that's all.
That's true,
some of
but
the
we could
stuff-
do some of that stuff ourselves.
Steve, some of this stuff is big for.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to
I
take down
understand.
the tree.
I agree with you 100%.
But there's a contractor that could be there tomorrow.
There are some things that our guys can do.
I mean, why not talk to Paramus? I mean, they have
They have a shade tree
they have
commission, yeah.
heavy-duty equipment.
Yeah.
I see them on 17, I
There's
see...
contractors we can get, I just don't understand why we have such a hard time with that.
Well, maybe if
We don't go out and do it.
Paramus would love to have the business.
Exactly.
We love it.
We reached out to them when we had the tree out near the pavilion, and no one could help us out. They wanted to. We called Ridgewood. They said everybody was getting ready for Memorial Day festivities or opening grade and pool or what have you. The thing with the trees is because we spend so much, we always have to get 2 quotes and go with the one that's the lowest quote.
These are emergencies, Mary Ann. They don't need 2 quotes. If the tree in Times Square right now fell and killed somebody, and we use the excuse that we're waiting 8 weeks to get two quotes, we should be sued because it's a dereliction of duty, because that tree is, there's a branch that's 12 inches in diameter hanging in the air with some yellow caution tape. A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old doesn't know what that caution tape means. They're gonna ride their bike and God forbid the wind blows when they're riding underneath it and it kills them. What are we doing? Like, I mean, it's an emergency. The tree on Whitfield Road, the sidewalk is missing. People could fall in that hole. We put a cone on it. I understand the cone is supposed to stop you from falling in the hole, but come on, we need to figure out a way, because everybody else does it, and we need to change things because it's not working.
Well, okay, I'll talk to Mr. I'm not aware of the emergent situations here, so if I...
Well, maybe, we need to discuss these things because it's 7 weeks. I mean, I think it may be even longer since that storm happened. I'm done on that, gentlemen. I'm sorry.
It's okay, good point.
Tell us how you really
My
feel.
own time is up. I'm sorry.
Time has expired. I got to keep a watch on you?
Yes, my wife told me my time's up too on my
Okay,
phone.
good. Okay.
Ricky texts me, everybody texts me when I'm up here, so. Moving on, request for refund fees, canceled project. Sue, is that the lady
That's,
from
yes,
the
that's
planning
one with
board?
the, yes, yes.
So somebody, somebody posted escrow in our packet to open up a new business in the old flower shop next to Italian Touch. And she realized that there's no parking there for her haircutting business. So she pulled her application and she was refunded all her fees, but there is a town fee that is non-refundable. And she's made a request to us to have that refunded. But we have received no notification from the planning board. So I think we should get something in writing before we officially review the
Haven't
request.
heard anything about that one.
You haven't either, Mr. O'Connor?
No, sir, I don't believe so, right, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, it stopped at the engineer level even before it was formally submitted to the planning board.
But she withdrew her application, I guess received all her fees back with the exception of the $250 township fee.
That's my understanding, yes.
So the woman is requested that fee be refunded. However, we haven't been directed by the planning board whether or not to do this or not, so.
The planning board doesn't know about it yet, sir.
It's in maybe a gray area because it never got to the planning board. It happened.
Okay, so that's what that one entails.
So, Mike, out of curiosity, she wanted to open a hair place there, but said there's not enough parking, or?
From what I read from the memo, the email she sent, that she put an application in to open up a haircutting place. She went, submitted all her paperwork, and then realized that she didn't have enough parking, so she withdrew the application. All the fees were refunded with the exception of the town fee, which in the ordinance clearly states it's non-refundable. So she's asked for a refund, right? So is that
I'm
correct?
not sure if all the fees were refunded yet or if she's just starting now.
Okay.
But
Oh, we would need something from
them.
them,
Yeah,
yeah,
still
so-
from the planning board.
I think that she was told by Mr. Azzolina that there was insufficient parking for her occupancy, if I remember what I read in this packet.
Okay. So I've been asked to, I have another no cat or dog licenses this time, right? So
Right, no,
it's regarding our fox population in town. This has all been posted on the township website, and an email blast was sent to all registered emails today. It's from our animal control officer regarding fox. As humans expand their living areas and fox expand their range, contact between the two is inevitable. Most of the time, fox go out of their way to avoid humans. In urban areas, the fox are changing their behavior because of human behavior. The most serious problem is that the animals have become very used to people because they find food left on our properties. As they lose their fear of people, they will
God bless him.
They will approach people looking for more food and may put themselves in hazardous situations that they normally would avoid. Fox are not like a dog. It is unwise to approach or corner these animals. They are smart and they learn quickly. It can be dangerous to feed wildlife, and steps should be taken to avoid encouraging them to visit your neighborhood. That means close your garbage cans lids tightly. Do not leave any food outside. Fox prey mostly on rodents and roadkill. If you notice fox in your neighborhood, you probably have also noticed a reduction in rats, chipmunks, and squirrels. Fox are beneficial as a form of rodent control. This is just nature achieving a balanced environment. For many years, we received complaints about vermin. Those complaints have decreased greatly. Most towns in Bergen and Passaic counties have a thriving population of fox. People should always be cautious when dealing with all wildlife, no matter how cute an animal is. Excuse me. You should not attempt to catch or touch them. This is very important if the animal is injured or sick. If you find an injured or a sick animal, always call your police and let them dispatch professionals to handle the situation. So to everybody's request, we cannot go and catch the fox and move him to a different neighborhood. It is against the law. So for all the requests of emails we receive, we cannot go and catch the fox and move him somewhere else. That is from our animal control officer. Thank you, everybody.
So just a question, if the fox were to become dangerous and go...
we need to, if the fox looks rabid or dangerous, please contact the police
attack
department.
somebody, then that's it.
Yeah, then they can go and get him, yeah.
Okay.
All right, do I have resolution number 18-248, closed session, potential litigation, property acquisition, personnel?
Just, if I,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, may I just, one thing I forgot to do, I saw this little handy chart I have. We're shutters, we're getting soliciting quotes for shutters. I know that everybody's expressed some, not everybody, some people have expressed interest on color selection. I'm actually going to go forward tomorrow issuing the purchase order for the resurfacing of the front doors. And that color should match the shutters. The company had given me swatches here. They're on the darker side, but there's one that looks like it's pretty good, and I just wanted to get people's input if this is something that,
Where are these shutters going?
all on the building. If you look out front, you noticed how bad the ones look in front.
Yeah, they're very faded.
They're
all
faded.
faded and
It's one of the first things I
Like
noticed
the
2
white
years
is
ago
nice.
when I came here.
that's the color, this dark blue?
Yeah.
proposed one.
That's the lighter of the blue, but it's,
It's the barbershop lady.
Yeah, I think it would be nice, I mean, I've been saying this for years, that whatever the color is, that we pick, like, you know, like many corporations have a corporate color
yeah.
for identification. I mean, I think the town should have a town color, you know, whether it's the blue and the gold, but absolutely.
Would that blue match the doors you're saying?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, the doors are going to be
great.
painted, so the
Right.
shutters
We can
come in
get
a
that.
pre-color, pre-made color, and,
Then
you
we
know,
can use
get
that
the
as
doors to
always
match
painted.
that.
Get it done anyway.
Right.
Everybody okay with that blue? Mr. Bruno, you
Yes,
okay?
no, we're fine.
Mr. Cummings?
A nice dark royal blue for some time in the future to be determined.
All right, Whenever. Moving on.
Mr. Alman, you okay with the blue?
Yeah, which way are we putting them up? With the slats or the?
Not slats, that's residential, the plainer type is more commercial.
Okay.
The, what would they call it?
So we're not getting new doors, we're going to
Colonial
resurface
pattern.
the doors?
No, we're
Just
getting
the,
new doors.
no, we are for the front door. The guy said to me, he goes, I take these down, I resand them.
Oh, the front doors.
Yeah, the front doors, put new trim, he's gonna do new kick plates or something on the side, because it's all rotted out there. And it's very reasonable. So, I got the quote, and then we had a hard time getting similar quotes, so I posted it on the website. I left it on for a week, today was the deadline, I didn't get any other submissions, so we can go forward with that.
Okay. Everybody okay with the colonial blue?
Looks beautiful.
Colonial
Thank
blue.
you.
407676.
Motion to enter into closed session.
Motion.
Second. Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. We take a 5-minute recess so Ricky can turn
Good.
off the mics and cameras.